Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome all of you for today's Bhagavad Gita reading session. Let us begin with prayers. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace Vishwaguru Abhay Charanarvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Chapter 15 entitled Yoga of the Supreme Person. Text 16. Dvavimau purushau loke ksharashchakshara eva cha ksharas sarvani bhutani kutasthoksara uchyate. Synonyms: Dvav, two, imau, in this world, purushau, living entities, loke, in the world, ksharaha, fallible, cha, and aksharaha, infallible, eva, certainly, cha, and ksharaha, the fallible, sarvani, all, bhutani, living entities, kutasthaha, in oneness, aksharaha, infallible, uchyate, is said. Translation and purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Translation: The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, there are two classes of beings, the fallible and the infallible. In the material world, every entity is fallible, and in the spiritual world, every entity is called infallible. Purport: As already explained, the Lord in his incarnation as Vyasadeva compiled the Vedanta Sutra. Here, the Lord is giving, in summary, the contents of the Vedanta Sutra. He says that the living entities, who are innumerable, can be divided into two classes, the fallible and the infallible. The living entities are eternally separated parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When they are in contact with the material world, they are called Jiva Bhutaha. And the Sanskrit word given here, Sarvani Bhutani, mean that they are fallible. Those who are in oneness with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, are called infallible. Oneness does not mean that they have no individuality, but that there is no disunity. They are all agreeable to the purpose of the creation. Of course, in the spiritual world, there is no such thing as creation. But since the Supreme Personality of Godhead has stated in the Vedanta Sutra that He is the source of all emanations, that conception is explained. According to the statement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, there are two classes of men. The Vedas give evidence of this, so there is no doubt about it. The living entities who are struggling in this world with the mind and five senses have their material bodies, which are changing as long as the living entities are conditioned. One's body changes due to contact with matter. Matter is changing, so the living entity appears to be changing. But in the spiritual world, the body is not made of matter. Therefore, there is no change. In the material world, the living entity undergoes six changes. birth, growth, duration, reproduction, then dwindling and vanishing. These are the changes of the material body. But in the spiritual world, the body does not change. There is no old age, there is no birth, there is no death. There are the there are there all exists in oneness. It is more clearly explained as Sarvani Bhutani. Any living entity who has come in contact with matter, beginning from the first created being, Brahma, down to a small ant, is changing its body. Therefore, they are all fallible. In the spiritual world, however, they are always liberated in oneness. Text 17. Uttama purushastvanyah paramatmetyudahritah यो लोकत्रयमाविश्य बिभर्त्यव्यय ईश्वरः. Synonyms: Uttamaha, the best; Purushaha, personality; Tu, but; Anyaha, another; Param, the supreme; Atma, self; Iti, thus; Udahritaha, said; Yaha, one who; Loka, of the universe; Trayam, the three divisions; Avishya, entering; Bibharti, maintaining; Avyayaha, inexhaustible; Ishvaraha, the Lord. Translation and purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Translation: Besides these two, there is the greatest living personality, the Lord Himself, who has entered into these worlds and is maintaining them. Purport: This verse is very nicely expressed in the Katha Upanishad and Shvetashvatara Upanishad. It is clearly stated there that above the innumerable living entities, some of whom are conditioned and some of whom are liberated, there is the Supreme Personality who is Paramatma. The Upanishadic verse runs as follows: Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. The purport is that amongst all the living entities, both conditioned and liberated, there is one supreme living personality, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who maintains them and gives them all the facility of enjoyment according to different work. That Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated in everyone's heart as Paramatma. A wise man who can understand him is eligible to attain the perfect peace, not others. It is incorrect to think of the Supreme Lord and the living entities as being on the same level or equal in all respects. There is always the question of superiority and inferiority in their personalities. This particular word, Uttama, is very significant. No one can surpass the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Loke is also significant because in the Paurusha, a Vedic literature, it is stated, Lokyate Vedartho Nena. This Supreme Lord is his localized aspect. This Supreme Lord, in his localized aspect as Paramatma, explains the purpose of the Vedas. The following verse also appears in the Vedas. Tavad esha samprasadosmach charirat samuthaya param jyotirupam sampadyasvena रूपेणाभिनिष्पद्यते उत्तमः पुरुषः. The super soul coming out of the body, the super soul coming out of the body enters the impersonal Brahma Jyoti. Then, in his form, he remains in his spiritual identity. That supreme is called the Supreme Personality. This means that the Supreme Personality is exhibiting and diffusing his spiritual effulgence, which is the ultimate illumination. That Supreme Personality also has a localized aspect as Paramatma. By incarnating himself as the son of Satyavati and Parashara, he explains the Vedic knowledge as Vyasadeva. Text 18. Text 18. यस्मात्क्षरम् अतीतोऽहम् अक्षरादपि चोत्तमः अतोऽस्मि लोके वेदे च प्रतितः पुरुषोत्तमः. Synonyms. Yasmat, because. Ksharam, the fallible. Atitaha, transcendental. Aham, I. Aksharat, from the infallible. Api, better. Better than that. Cha, and. Uttamaha, the best. Ataha, therefore. Asmi, I am. Loke, in the world. Vede, in the Vedic literature. Cha, and. Prathitaha, celebrated. Purushottamaha, as the Supreme Personality. Translation and purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, because I am transcendental, beyond both the fallible and the infallible, and because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as that Supreme Person. Purport. No one can surpass the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, neither the conditioned soul nor the liberated soul. He is, therefore, the greatest of personalities. Now it is clear here that the living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are individuals. The difference is that the living entities, either in the conditioned state or in the liberated state, cannot surpass in quantity the inconceivable potencies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 19. यो मामेव अस यो मामेवम् असम्मूढो जानाति पुरुषोत्तमम् स सर्वविद् भजति मां सर्वभावेन भारत. Synonyms. Yaha, anyone, mam, unto me, evam, certainly, asammodhaha, without a doubt, janati, knows, purushottamam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Saha, he, sarvavit, knower of everything, bhajati, renders devotional service, mam, unto me, sarvabhavena, in all respects, Bharata, O son of Bharata. Translation and purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is to be understood as the knower of everything, and he therefore engages himself in full devotional service, O son of Bharata. Purport. There are many philosophical speculations about the constitutional position of the living entities and the supreme absolute truth. Now, in this verse, the Supreme Personality of Godhead clearly explains that anyone who knows Lord Krishna as the Supreme Person is actually the knower of everything. The imperfect knower goes on simply speculating about the absolute truth, but the perfect knower, without wasting his valuable time, engages directly in Krishna consciousness, the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. Throughout the whole of Bhagavad Gita, this fact is being stressed at every step. And still, there are so many stubborn commentators on Bhagavad Gita who consider the supreme absolute truth and the living entities to be one and the same. Vedic knowledge is called Shruti, learning by oral reception. One should actually receive the Vedic message from authorities like Krishna and his representatives. Here, Krishna distinguishes everything very nicely, and one should hear from this source. Simply to hear like the hogs is not sufficient. One must be able to understand from the authorities. It is not that one should simply speculate academically. One should submissively hear from Bhagavad Gita that these living entities are always subordinate to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone who is able to understand this according to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, knows the purpose of the Vedas. No one else knows the purpose of the Vedas. The word bhajate is very significant. In many places, the word bhajate is expressed in relationship with the service of the Supreme Lord. If a person is engaged in full Krishna consciousness in devotional service of the Lord, it is to be understood that he has understood all the Vedic knowledge. In the Vaishnava Parampara, it is said that if one is engaged in the devotional service of Krishna, then there is no need for a spiritual process to understand the supreme absolute truth. He has already come to the post because he is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. He has ended all preliminary processes of understanding. Similarly, if anyone, after speculating for hundreds of thousands of lives, does not come to the point that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that one has to surrender there, all his speculation for so many years and lives is a useless waste of time. Text 20. इति गुह्यतमं शास्त्रम् इदमुक्तं मया नघ एतद्बुद्ध्वा बुद्धिमान् स्यात् कृतकृत्यश्च भारत. Synonyms: iti, thus, guhyatamam, the most confidential, shastram, revealed scriptures, idam, this, uktam, disclosed, maya, by me, anagha, O sinless one, etat, this, buddhva, understanding, buddhiman, intelligent, syat, one becomes, kritakrityaha, the most perfect, cha, and bharata, O son of Bharata. Translation and purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Translation: This is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, O sinless one, and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection. Purport: The Lord clearly explains here that this is the substance of all revealed scriptures, and one should understand this as it is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, one will become intelligent and perfect in transcendental knowledge. In other words, by understanding this philosophy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engaging in His transcendental service, everyone can become freed from all contaminations of the modes of material nature. Devotional service is a process of spiritual understanding. Wherever devotional service exists, the material contamination cannot coexist. Devotional service to the Lord and the Lord Himself are one and the same because they are spiritual, the internal energy of the Supreme Lord. The Lord is said to be the sun, and ignorance is called darkness. Where the sun is present, there is no question of darkness. Therefore, whenever devotional service is present under the proper guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, there is no question of ignorance. Everyone must take to this consciousness of Krishna and engage in devotional service to become intelligent and purified. Unless one comes to this position of understanding Krishna and engages in devotional service, however intelligent he may be in the estimation of some common man, he is not perfectly intelligent. The word anagha by which Arjuna is addressed is significant. Anagha, O sinless one, means that unless one is free from all sinful reactions, it is very difficult to understand Krishna. One has to become free from all contamination, all sinful activities, then he can understand. But devotional service is so pure and potent that once one is engaged in devotional service, he automatically comes to the stage of sinlessness. While performing devotional service in the association of pure devotees in full Krishna consciousness, there are certain things which require to be vanquished altogether. The most important thing one has to surmount is weakness of the heart. The first fall down is caused by the desire to lord it over material nature. Thus, one gives up the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord. The second weakness of the heart is that as one increases the propensity of lording it over material nature, he becomes attached to matter and the possession of matter. The problems of material existence are due to these weaknesses of the heart. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 15th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of Purushottama Yoga, the yoga of the Supreme Person. We have completed 15th chapter. Now we are beginning with the next chapter, chapter 16, the divine and demoniac natures. Texts 1 to 3. श्रीभगवानुवाच अभयं सत्त्वसंशुद्धिर्ज्ञानयोगव्यवस्थितिः दानं दमश्च यज्ञश्च स्वाध्यायस्तप आर्जवम् अहिंसा सत्यमक्रोधस्त्यागः शान्तिरपैशुनम् दया भूतेष्वलो लुप्त्वं मार्दवं ह्रियचापलम् तेजक्षमा धृतिः शौचं मद्रोहो नातिमानिता भवन्ति सम्पदं दैवीम् अभिजातस्य भारत. Synonyms. Sri Bhagavanuvacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Abhayam, fearlessness, Sattva Samshuddhihi, purification of one's existence, Jnana, knowledge, Yoga, of linking up, Vyavasthitihi, the situation, Danam, charity, Damaha cha, and controlling the mind, Yajnaha cha, and performance of sacrifices, Swadhyayaha, study of Vedic literature, Tapaha, austerity, Arjavam, simplicity, Ahimsa, non-violence, Satyam, truthfulness, Akrodhaha, freedom from anger, Tyagaha, renunciation, Shantihi, tranquility, Apaishunam, aversion to fault finding, Daya, mercy, Bhuteshu, towards all living entities, Aloluptvam, freedom from greed, Mardavam, gentleness, Hrihi, modesty, Achapalam, determination, Tejaha, vigor, Kshama, forgiveness, Dhritihi, fortitude, Shaucham, cleanliness, Adrohaha, freedom from envy, Na, not, Timanita, expectation of honor. Bhavanti, become. Sampadam, qualities. Daivim, transcendental. Abhijatasya, one who is born of. Bharata, O son of Bharata. Translation and purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Translation: The Blessed Lord said, fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity and simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault finding, compassion and freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty and steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, freedom from envy and the passion for honor, these transcendental qualities, O son of Bharata, belong to godly men endowed with divine nature. Purport. In the beginning of the 15th chapter, the banyan tree of this material world was explained. The extra roots coming out of it were compared to the activities of the living entities, some auspicious, some inauspicious. In the ninth chapter also, the Devas or godly and the Asuras, the ungodly or demons, were explained. Now, according to Vedic rites, activities in the mode of goodness are considered auspicious for progress on the path of liberation, and such activities are known as Deva Prakriti, transcendental by nature. Those who are situated in the transcendental nature make progress on the path of liberation. For those who are acting in the modes of passion and ignorance, on the other hand, there is no possibility of liberation. Either they will have to remain in this material world as human beings, or they will descend among the species of animals or even lower life forms. In this 16th chapter, the Lord explains both the transcendental nature and its attendant qualities, as well as the demoniac nature and its qualities. He also explains the advantages and disadvantages of these qualities. The word abhijatasya, in reference to one born of transcendental qualities or godly tendencies, is very significant. To beget a child in a godly atmosphere is known in the Vedic scriptures as Garbhadhana Samskara. If the parents want a child in the godly qualities, they should follow the 10 principles of the human being. In Bhagavad Gita, we have also studied before that sex life for begetting a good child is Krishna himself. Sex life is not condemned provided the process is used in Krishna consciousness. Those who are in Krishna consciousness, at least, should not beget children like cats and dogs, but should beget them so they may become Krishna conscious after birth. That should be the advantage of children born of a father or mother absorbed in Krishna consciousness. The social institution known as Varnashrama Dharma, the institution dividing society into four divisions or castes, is not meant to divide human society according to birth. Such divisions are in terms of educational qualifications. They are to keep the society in a state of peace and prosperity. The qualities mentioned herein are explained as transcendental qualities meant for making a person progress in spiritual understanding so he can get liberated from the material world. In the Varnashrama institution, the sannyasi or the person in renounced order of life is considered to be the head or the spiritual master of all the social statuses and orders. A Brahmana is considered to be the spiritual master of the three other sections of the society, namely the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras. But a sannyasi who is on the top of the institution is considered to be the spiritual master of the Brahmanas also. For a sannyasi, the first qualification should be fearlessness, because a sannyasi has to be alone without any support or guarantee of support. He has simply to depend on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If he thinks, after leaving my connections, who will protect me? He should not accept the renounced order of life. One must be fully convinced that Krishna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his localized aspect as Paramatma, is always within, and he is seeing everything, and he always knows what one intends to do. One must thus have firm conviction that Krishna, as Paramatma, will take care of a soul surrendered to him. I shall never be alone, one should think. Even if I live in the darkest regions of a forest, I shall be accompanied by Krishna, and he will give me all protection. That conviction is called abhayam, without fear. This state of mind is necessary for a person in the renounced order of life. Then he has to purify his existence. We shall continue to read this purport in the next session. Thank you for joining. Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granthara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.